Yeah.
Michael Watson and I in an audience with, I'd love to do that for Michael because he's not made any money over all these years. And he beat Nigel. He beat him. So look at the world and how we pay lip service. Michael Watson was and is now the people's champion. Give him something back. Let's do something for Michael. Turn up. Because let me tell you whatever Nigel put me through cannot be compared to what Michael Watson put me through. I didn't win. I only won 1 minute of that fight. Irrespective of what you hear Jim Watt saying, irrespective of what these commentators were saying, because they're not feeling it. I'm a great actor. So when you hit me hard and it's crippling, my job is to not show you that I feel that pain. But let me tell you, I was within inches of death.
Yeah, I've heard you say that before.
Yeah, that night.
I mean, you look back, obviously, the first fight we've just kind of touched upon. The second fight was one of the most compelling fights we've seen in a British ring, where Michael was, for want of a better expression, Chris, administering a beating. You unleash a punch on him, which changes the course of his life, sends him to hospital, puts him in a coma for 40 days, which resulted in him having 6 brain surgeries, changing the course of his life immeasurably. Is it still very raw for you?
Always.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you hold yourself responsible?
Of course. Well, who threw the punch? You have a society now, it wasn't your fault. That doesn't make sense. That's lip service. Of course it was my fault. I delivered the punch. So stop talking on that.
But you delivered the punch to a willing participant.
Yes. But nevertheless...
Who would have done the same to you in exchange.
Yes.
So do you think it's pragmatic or good for your well-being to actually attribute that blame to you? I know you're the person that administered the blow, but that was the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
He has the same spirit, the same heart.
Yes.
So do you think you're being a bit unfair on yourself?
No, I'm not being unfair. I'm being honest. And the only way you actually live a life which you can enjoy is if you are honest. If you're not living with honesty, then you're being a fool only to one person, and that is yourself.
But that feels a bit like self-flagellation. It feels like you're...
Self-what?
Self-flagellation.
Flagellation. What a good word. Tell me what that means.
That? It means that you're whipping yourself. You're blaming yourself for something that was the nature of the beast. That was the business that you were in. You weren't tickling one another.
Yeah, but I don't understand. I understand the word now, but I don't understand how you can separate.
Because I don't see it. It's not my gift; it's your gift, right? But as an impartial observer, objective in my being, I look at it and say, I don't look at you as being culpable and to blame for it. I look at the circumstances of the fight that you were in. You were both winning consensual adults in a business that you both signed up for.
Sure.
And that was the nature of the beast.
Let me tell you
weren't doing it to someone that wasn't defending themselves.
My mother taught me how to be a man. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Queen Elizabeth taught me how to be a man.
Yep.
Okay, the second.
Said, yep.
Okay, so that means you take responsibility. Not that there's going to be a society or a government or, a public who would say, well, really, it's not your fault. It was my fault, period. Don't try to excuse it. That's why we have a society now which are
people
weak.
Aren't accountable. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Well, if you don't disagree, start following the narrative. The narrative is Michael Watson did to Chris Eubank that what no other fighter has done. 1, 2, and he should be credited for it.
And that's a different conversation.
Why should it be a different conversation?
I'll tell you what's a different conversation, because we're talking about what you'd... It's like if I got in a car and I was drink driving and I drank too much and I ran someone over and killed them, then I would be entirely responsible for that situation because I'd made certain choices, but the person that was the victim of it had no choice in. And that were my choices. The choices that were made for you, and it's not for me to tell you or give you benediction or validation for what you think. If you think that you want to carry this around and you're responsible for it, it's your gift. I'm just talking as another man talking to another man about objectivity. I don't think in the sport that you were in that you should blame yourself. If you do, then who am I to tell you that you shouldn't?
Let me look to camera. Do you mind?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so, unless, you as individuals watching this, unless you can take responsibility for what is obviously you're doing, Fault, yes, fault, justified in the system of what they call boxing. If you don't take responsibility, you are a nobody.
Was it a misdeed, Chris?
A misdeed?
You should take
No.
responsibility for misdeeds.
No.
You should be accountable for the things that you do in life that are bad.
Yes.
This wasn't a bad thing. This was a byproduct of the industry that you were in.
That's right.
You did your job.
Hold on. I did my job, but I'm not in there to hurt my brother. I'm not in there to kill my brother.
No, you're in there to do your job, and your job involves hurt.
Yes. And all I'm doing is recognizing the fact that I hurt him, which was not my intention. Okay, so
to the extent
me opening up like this is showing you, young man, how to be a man. Yeah, it's beautiful being a man, owning up, not looking at what society is telling you. Look at what they're doing now with Michael Watson. Michael Watson,
he's a remarkable man, by the way.
Hold on, yeah, but what have you done for him? Don't answer that. What have you?
Okay.
He's a people's champion. What have you done for Michael? Start doing it now.
What have you done for him? I'm asking. There's no judgment in that. I'm just asking because you just said to me, what have you done for him? So tell me what you've done for him.
What I've done for him? Okay. Rather than, I will tell you. I'll tell you one thing. And there's a lot more than this, but I'll tell you one. The most important thing to me in terms of a symbol was that WBO middleweight championship belt. I put that in an auction for Michael.
Right.
Okay. That it went for £3,000. I was talking to Steve Bunce about this the other day. I cried. I was crying about it because the most important symbol to me, which symbolizes to my brothers, I did it, something you said I couldn't do, and all I ever wanted was respect from them. So in doing it, that symbol I put in an auction for Michael Watson's benefit. So hold on. Okay, I was crying that I had given that belt away because I had worked so hard for this symbol to say to my brothers, I'm worthy of your respect. Now, this is the point. That's what I've done for Michael, and that's one thing. I'm not going to talk about the other things. That's something I'm proud of that. That's who you are to be, young men. Young men, that's who you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be compassionate. You're supposed to forgive. You're supposed to help. You're supposed to be objective. You're supposed to, in one word, LOVE, love.
These epiphanies that you have, that have been milestones in your life, when the tragedy and the circumstances that unfolded with Michael and all that went with it, was the epiphany to change you as a fighter? I think you mentioned it yourself, didn't you, about you lost the finishing instinct?
Yeah. But my father had told me at the time, he said to me, I see, effectively in English, he said, I see you're suffering with this, but this is the only business in which you can actually take a man's life and go home.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to do that, you should get out of the business.
Yeah.
My dad told me that.
Sure. But did it change you, Chris? I mean,
yeah. Sure, right. I lost my finishing instinct because the power in me, which is mum.
Right.
What is that? That is a sensitivity. That is empathy. That's why I was so difficult to beat, because I had feelings for my brothers who I was fighting.
Did it, going forward, I'll get onto other fights, but just going forward to recent times, it's mooted that you said to Junior when he's fighting Nick Blackwell, stop hitting him in the face. Is the genesis of that conversation with your son in a fight with a very viable fighter to stop hitting him in the face? Was it seeded in that?
Well, not even, but I know what can happen.
Yeah.
And I can see that the referee, for whatever reason, is not stopping this fight, which clearly should have been stopped 2 rounds before. Certainly in the 7th round, Junior had the explosivity at this time. There isn't anyone, not even you, Knowledge. Yeah, Spencer Fearon. Not even Spencer can find a fight, a British title fight, as good as that particular fight. Junior was on fire, and there were some people, and I've never really mentioned their names, but I'm going to mention their names today. Tyson Fury and Billy Joe Saunders, they were goading Junior, and before the fight they'd come into the changing room.
Yeah.
Let me tell you,
you've said this before,
and I don't blame them because they're a tight-knit community. I don't blame them, but this is what ignited Junior to put on a performance that you have not seen anyone produce since. You may not look at the fight because obviously what happened to Nick happened. But if you look at Junior in that fight, you will see that he had the beating of anyone on the planet when he was that Chris Eubank.